And hi there, my name is Jeff Wood. Welcome to the Web Dev Room. Today we are working with CSU extension eStore. This is a webinar that should last just about an hour, that we do have a lot to cover. We'll do at least 2 of these. Today we're going to be working on just an overview of the eStore, how to add a category, how to add a product, how to add product attributes. In our next session, next month, we'll deal with GL codes and reports. And then if a third session is required to catch anything that falls through the cracks, we'll do it then. So if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat pod. Otherwise, I'm going to throw a quick poll at you. If you let me know if you currently sell goods or services on the eStore, if you plan to do so soon, you're not sure, or you don't, you're just here for the information. Okay, well, let's keep going then. Again, we have a lot to cover, but I don't want to blow over anybody's questions, and I'm certainly willing to slow down and take the time to answer questions. So don't let the amount of material we have to cover today keep you from asking questions using the chat pod, because this is a new experience for everybody involved here. So first off, the eStore is actually 2 eStores. There's a test server and there's a production server. And this is a very cool deal. The test server is your sandbox. It's the place you can play. Everything's soft. Nothing can get broken. Nobody's going to get hurt. And there you can learn how to put up a product, add attributes, add images, add whatever you like to it. Find out how your descriptions work on that size screen and so on. And then after you get everything perfect there on the test server, remember what you did and then go into the production server and put it online in exactly the same way. The test server and the production server are almost identical. The public's not going to see anything you put up on the test server. The only folks who will see it are other people using the test server who are probably making the same mistakes you are. So feel free to make mistakes there on the sandbox test server. Feel free to experiment. The URL after the HTTP for the test store is extension -Kalostate TEST, no dash, no dot, no space, just kalostatetest.nbsstore.net. And again, not to beat a dead horse, it's a really good idea to get your product exactly how you want it to look there on the test server before you attempt to replicate that on the production server. Production servers, the public's going to see it. Anybody who goes to that site's going to see it. It's the same URL without the TEST. So again, after the HTTPS, it is extension -Kalostate.nbsstore.net. So before we go any further, let's quickly show you what those look like. And I have 2 tabs up. This is the test store. I can tell because of the TEST after Kalostate. And this is the production store. They're nearly identical, though not entirely identical. The actual production store has got in its navigation here counties, and here we have Douglas, El Paso, and Garfield currently have products up here on the test store. The state and regional event registration currently has no products on it, but I'm sure that will change. My account will just be covering your own account details. So that's the production store, and the test store is nearly identical. If we hover over counties, we can see that Douglas and El Paso have been working on this test server. And before we move on, I'll go ahead and do this now, show you what the end user is going to see, what that public, what that buyer is going to see when they go into the system. So we'll go over to Douglas County here. This is a category, Douglas County. We'll talk about categories today. And then a subcategory, which we'll also build today, is Douglas County, Colorado Master Gardener. When I click that, here are 3 things offered in this subcategory of Colorado Master Gardener: renewal fees, training fees, and certificate training fees. And if the public wants to buy one of these, they click add to cart. They'll be asked for, this is called an attribute. We'll talk about these today too. They'll be asked to put in their name, and then they can buy one, we'll assume. Click add to cart. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold today, so bear with my coughing and sniffling. The shopping cart here is in the upper right-hand corner. So the end user next goes to the shopping cart. They can remove it here, change the quantity, or check out. They agree to the terms of service. They check out. And we're a bit slow today, so bear with me. Here's the checkout. They've got an order summary here, some basic information here, how much it will cost. And then here's our payment method. And we have check or money order or credit card, both enabled for this. If they choose check or money order, after a few seconds, they're given where to send the check and various bits of information about that check. Alternately, they can use a credit card and add credit card details. That button appears. When you click that, the end user gets this screen. Now, in the test store and in the test store only, you can put in pretty much any name within reason. Card number can just be a 4 followed by 15 ones. I think I have that the right number. Expiration just has to be after today. And then the CVV is 3 nines. You don't need to save the card. You click next. There was an error with the card number. At any rate, if you put in a 4 and 15 ones, 3 nines for the CVV, a name, you'll see what the customer sees. Obviously, that won't work on the actual server. So that is what the public sees. I'm going to get rid of the actual store so I don't get confused between the test store and the actual store, and we end up publishing something by mistake. I recommend you do the same if you're working, do not have the test store and the production server up at the same time. So with all that said, let's go back to our PowerPoint and jump into the nuts and bolts of this. Signing in, you need to check with the fiscal office to get registered for the e-store, to connect your EID up with the e-store so that it recognizes it. I'm not sure who in the fiscal office to work with yet. I know they are down a couple of employees, and I know they're still kind of trying to find the best person to handle this on a fairly full-time basis. But checking with fiscal is the first step towards getting your EID connected so it's recognized by the e-store, and you'll use that CSU EID to sign in. The way to sign in, and I don't think I need to bother to show you the sign-in process, at the upper right-hand corner of your screen in that e-store, you'll see sign in. So you click sign in, you go past the customer sign-ins. One's a guest sign in, one's a returning customer sign in. And you'll see this big old button right here, e-store administrator, log in with CSU EID. And from Jana, we hear that they can contact either Jana or Laura in the fiscal office currently. So thank you very much for that info, Jana. If you have any more questions for Jana, anybody else in the room, feel free to hit us up on the chat pod and we'll go from there. So you click e-store administrator, log in with CSU EID, and once you've been set up, that will take you into the administration portion of the e-store. Now your screen's not going to look any different except for a green bar, or at least I assume it's green, I'm colorblind, at the very top of your browser, and in the center of that bar, you'll see administration. That's how you get into the dashboard. This is the dashboard. We're going to spend a lot of time here today. There's some basic analytics there, and the document portion of the pane, your navigation is here on the left. We're going to be dealing, I think this is a little too small to see, we'll be dealing with the catalog section all day today. We're going to be working first with categories, then with products, and then with attributes and product attributes, which incidentally is also the 3 topics we're discussing today. You are apparently required to do some training to gain access to the CSU eStore, excuse me. Excuse me very much. And it's actually a pretty good training regardless about cybersecurity, I believe. So categories is our first step. I am peppering you here with all caps importance 3 times on one screen. I promise this won't happen all day today, but these first few steps are important. So I all capped by important there. This is your first step, and again, this is important. You set your main category. Typically, that's going to be your county. The county I'll be using today is a fictional county I grew up in, Wapello County. Assumedly, you'd be using Adams County or Custer County or something like that. I suppose there might be other CSU extension entities besides counties that can be setting up e-stores, but generally it's going to be your county. Your subcategory is typically going to be a set of similar products within your main category, like workshops or like master gardener fees, like apparel, drinking mugs, stuff like that. So category, typically your county. Subcategory is a series of related items. You only have to do this once per category or per subcategory. In the upper left-hand corner in the dashboard, you're going to see this advanced button, or it might say basic. And we'll see this in every dialog box that we work with today. You want to toggle this over to advanced every time so you get all of your options. The options can be a little overwhelming, but you really need to kind of dig deep into the weeds to do this correctly. So make sure that toggle is on advanced. Give them a name, give them a description, give them a picture. Typically, this is going to be a logo for your main category, a county logo if your catalog category excuse me, is a county. So your parent category, when you're setting this up, needs to be counties. For subcategories, counties followed by your county, the county you just put in there. I realize this is a bit confusing, but it'll make a lot more sense when we go into the actual store. But your parent category for your main category, county, will be counties, and then your subcategory category will be counties followed by the county you just put in. The last important thing to remember on categories is that the limited to store box should be set to CSU extension e-store. Now in the training store, you're just setting it to extension. It has a different name depending on which server you're on. So in the test store, you're just choosing extension under the limited to stores option. And in the actual production store, you're setting it to CSU extension e-store. Hope that makes sense to everybody. Feel free to hit us up in the chat pod if it doesn't. So let's build a category and a subcategory. I'm going to go back to my screen and back to my test. Again, I know it's my test because the word TEST is after Colorado State here in the URL. Here's that administration button I talked about earlier. This takes you to the dashboard. Takes you very slowly to the dashboard in some cases. There we go. So the catalog area is where we're going to be doing all our stuff today. And we're going to start with categories. So we can search any of the categories we like here using this search option. We don't really need to do that. I'm just going to go to Add New. First thing we're going to add is our county, our main category. And here we are. Our name will be Wapello County. I'll go ahead and spell that out. I'm not sure that you need a description. Feel free to put a description there. And again, this is a fictional county. I'll put test after it as well. This is a fictional county that I grew up in, so I don't end up using an actual county. You don't really need anything in the description, though feel free to put one in under categories. Picture, here's where you'd upload a file, typically a logo. I don't have a county logo for Wapello County, so I'll use a standard extension logo and I'll upload it right there. Parent category is one of those big all caps importance I talked about before. This is going to be county. These are sadly not in alphabetical order, but you need to go down around 2/3 of the way down. Here you see counties. Here you see counties followed by other counties that have set up main categories and subcategories. We just want counties. So when you're building your own store, you start with counties right here. Parent category is counties. We don't really have price ranges. I would recommend not showing this on the home page because you're kind of cutting in line in front of all the other counties. and all the other products. Do include it in the top menu. Allow your customers to set their page size. We won't be working with discounts today. Excuse me, though I will show you a spot where you can at least refer to them. You can limit customer roles to, say, guests, to registered people registered at the e-store, school administrators, and so on. We're not going to deal with that either. Limited to stores was the third all important, or all caps important. So here in the test store, we look for extension. And not to beat a dead horse, but in the actual store, you're going to be looking for CSU extension e-store for that limited to stores. This publish checkbox we're going to see several times today. What that means is as soon as you hit that save button, you're going to publish. And this is checked by default. So be aware that as soon as you hit save, if that published checkbox is checked, you're going to go live the second you hit save. So if you don't want that to happen, and it might take you several sessions to get your product ready to go, it's probably a good idea to have this unpublished. We'll leave it published, however. Display order, we'll deal with this later. 0 means 1, 0 means the first one. If you don't work with display order, things will show up in the order that you put them in. And we'll talk about display order later. For now, I'm just going to click save. And we will slowly and patiently wait as it saves this. There we have it. We're going to add one more category. This will be a subcategory of Wapello County. We'll click Add New. And this will be, again, a set of similar products. Wapello County, that's spelled wrong here. I'll use Wapello County workshops, assuming Wapello County has several workshops. Put a description here if you like. I'm not going to bother now, though we will work with descriptions later. A picture, you could put in here as well. I don't really have an image that fits workshops, so I leave this blank. If you're working with a material object, that's a lot more easy to add. Our parent category this time is not going to be counties, though it will be similar. I'm again going about 2/3 of the way down because these are not in alphabetical order. And then here's our last county to be added, counties, Wapello County. So for a subcategory, my parent category is counties, followed by my main category, which is my county or my CSU entity if you're not working with a county e-store. These we've all talked about. I'm not going to change any of these, but make sure you don't put it on the home page. Make sure if you want it to be published or not. Limited to stores, we again have to put in extension, which is right here, and again, CSU extension e-store if you're in the production server. So I will now hit save again, and we've created a category and a subcategory, which is your first step in adding a product. Let's quickly do a search to see if we've got these. I'm going to put in WAP for Wapello, and I'm going to search. And here we have the two that we've just added. The Wapello County Test Store, Wapello County Test Store, subcategory, Wapello County Workshops. Anybody have any questions about categories? Excellent. Okay. Let me jump to our PowerPoint and continue. Now here is where the rubber meets the road. We're working with products. The way to get here, category, products, add new. There's a lot of options on this page. Don't be overwhelmed. They are fairly, if you read them, you can understand what they mean. So it's not like you're dealing with a lot of terms that you're not understanding here. Just be aware there's a lot to deal with here. Take things one at a time. You'll be fine. Excuse me. Now I have like 5 pages of PowerPoint slides that deal with products. I'm not going to go through this now. I'm just going to jump into the e-store and stay there. One thing I do want to point out here, because it takes a little bit of troubleshooting. When you're first putting on your product, you're asked for a short description and a full description. The short description is going to be displayed on the category page, meaning the first page they get to when they see all of your products. So that one can be fairly succinct. You don't have to say that much. The full description, however, is going to be displayed on the product page. So they're looking at that description right as they're deciding to purchase that product or not and actually spend money by clicking add to cart. So your full description's got to be complete. You want to be concise, you want to be succinct, but be complete so that end user, that buyer knows everything there on the full description. Less important on the short description, very important on the full description. And I won't bother going over anything else on that. So let's jump straight into the exciting world of adding a product. And again, not to beat a dead horse, any questions, feel very free to use the chat pod. Okay, so now we're going to go to catalog and products. We're going to be adding a WordPress workshop today. Excuse me. Here's our search parameters up here. If you want to do a search on anything, here are the pages and pages of products. And again, we're on the test store here. There's many, many more on the production store. So let's jump to add new. And here we are. This is the advanced basic toggle I was talking about before. So in all cases, leave that on advanced. Product type is going to be simple. You can have a group of products with different variations as well. You can also, with a simple product, however, add an attribute that allows them to pick different colors, different sizes, and so on. We'll deal with that later today. We want them to be visible individually, though it doesn't really matter because we only have one product. The product name is going to be WordPress Workshop. Short description, I think I've got a description loaded on my clipboard. Yes, so I'll put it in there. And then this will show up on the category page. So let's truncate this a little bit. And then the full description is going to appear next to the product. So again, you need to be fairly complete. We'll put that in full description. So those are the descriptions and our name. SKU is a unique identifier for our product. We don't necessarily have to have one. If you do have one, put it in there. A quick note on the unique identifier for these products. We're working with the GL code as a way to identify products. We're going to spend more time, excuse me. We're going to spend more time on that in our next session. But a GL code basically involves a numeric code, which is your, I think, primary account, a dash, and then a set of 5 letters, which uniquely identifies the product in a way that's not too goofy. You can kind of figure out from the letters what the product is. Sure. Jana's asking, can you remind folks that all county products need to start with their county name? Yeah. Again, we'll deal with this in a little more detail in our next session. Each GL code and every product on the store has to have a GL code. That's how CSU extension is tracking products. So that's the important unique identifier. Starts with the numeric code, which is the primary account number, dash, and then the secondary account number, which is going to be all letters. So master gardener fees for Douglas County, you might have MGDOU would be the second half. So it's starting with master gardener DOU for Douglas County, or DOUMG for Douglas Master Gardener. It needs to be a somewhat not particularly cryptic set of letters that lets that person who's doing the inputting, doing the fiscal things that fiscal needs to do, to easily figure out what's being sold there using a 5-letter acronym of sorts. Janet, does that describe it pretty well? Do you want me to go into any more detail? And do you want me to, I can actually bring you up as a co-host if you want to talk. Okay, let me. Okay, Jana, you're a co-host. Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you fine, Jana.
Great. Yes, you're right. The sub account actually is a Koali account attribute. So, and they're self-defined. So when people set up products in the store, they'll already have their account number and dash their sub account. They'll know where they want those revenues to go into, and that's the numbers that get put in the GL code attribute. That's how we know when those revenues come in, where to actually then we do a clearing of the overall extension eStore account, and then we shift those revenues into their specific accounts. And having the county name on there is important because the eStore is for all of extension. And since so many counties will have very similar products, to try to keep from having confusion, we've asked that everybody start each product with their county name.
Can you give us an example of a good GL code, Jana?
Sure, it would be their non-appropriated account number on campus. They all start with 99, and they're all 7 digits. So it would be like 9987999. Sorry, I'm counting 9987126 dash, and like the example you gave, Master Gardener. Some of our folks use MGRD for Master Gardener dues, and those are already pieces of information they'll know because they've already asked us to set them up in the accounting system.
Do you suggest that they talk to you before they put in a GL code so they know you guys are on the same page?
Yes, if they don't have it already established in the Koali financial system, they'll want to let us know or work with us to make sure that we're aware that it does exist if they have access to create it on their own.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that, Jana. Anybody have any questions for Jana? Feel free to use the chat pod. Jana, you might want to put your email address there in the chat pod. Hopefully you won't be overwhelmed by sending you messages. But she's the best person to talk to in terms of this GL code, which again, we're not really dealing with so much with today. But that is important because it's the unique identifier for that product. I'm going to keep going on. Jana, thank you for that email address. It's there. She's, I wouldn't say she's the point person, but for now, she's the person who's really involved in this product or in this, in the eStore, and has helped me a lot with my hundreds of questions. So thank you, Jana. I'm going to keep going. And again, feel free to hit us in the chat pod if you have any questions. So we don't care about the SKU, but if you have one, feel free to put it in. Product tags would be similar things like Colorado State University, extension. I think WordPress is on here. WordPress, web design. You really want to be as complete as you can. Feel free to hit it as with many tags as you like. You simply type them in and hit enter. GTN is another unique identifier we're not using. Manufacturer part number, yet again. We want to avoid showing on the home page. You can allow customer reviews. Be aware you might have to be culling those reviews for spam. So if you turn on or allow to leave turned on customer reviews, you're going to have somebody go in occasionally and clean that out from spam and other nefarious things. You can have start dates and end dates. We do have a September 18th date here, so I could make an end date of September 19th, but you don't have to use these. Mark is new if it's a new product to kind of grab people's attention. I don't think we need to do that. Admin comment is for interior use only. Other people going into this product can see your comment and whatever it is you're wanting to tell people about this product and maybe why you set things up the way you did. You can sell gift cards on the eStore. You can have an actual or a virtual e-card. And your gift card amount does not have to be the same thing as the price. It can be over or under the price. But here in the overridden gift card amount is the actual amount of money that gift card is worth. Downloadable products, this is kind of cool. And I hope people use this because it's kind of cool. Click that. You have a number of options appear here. You can either upload a file into the eStore that people can download, or you can send them to a link if that product, if that electronic file is over 4 megs. If you're using a URL, you would use something like a public Dropbox folder or a public Google Drive folder. To upload a file, you simply click upload a file, and I think it'll take this PowerPoint. Yeah, you just upload it just like that. I'll remove the download. If you want to look for a URL here, you simply put the URL right there. You can give them unlimited downloads, or if you uncheck this, you can give them a maximum number of downloads in case they don't get it right the first time. Number of days for that download, whether they're allowed to download when the order is paid, or whether you set that up manually. If you want a user agreement for that download, you check this box and put your text in here. And if you want a sample download file to make sure they can do the download, this is where you would set up a sample download file. Recurring products, you can just set up the cycle length, cycle period, and total cycles. If it's say a membership that you're renewing on a monthly basis or a yearly basis, if it's a rental, though we do deal with rentals down below. So you can have recurring products, you can have rentals, and again, you just need to specify the period length and the actual period in terms of days, months, or years. Prices will be used by everybody. We're going to set our workshop at $25, and we're going to set our old price at $35, and we'll see this on our end screen that we'll see the 35 crossed out and the 25, so that end user will realize they're getting quite the deal. If you want Nelnet, which is the people who run this store, to include in your reports the actual cost versus the amount of money you're taking in, you can put in the actual product cost of whatever you're selling right here. You can disable your buy button if you want, disable the wish list button if you want, make it available for pre-order. You could combine disabling the buy button and calling for price to simply ask that customer to call to get the price of an item. Customer enters price. Do not use this for donations. I understand that's kind of its primary function in Nelnet in general, but that's really against CSU policy. So don't allow them to enter their own price as a way to give a donation. The PANG-V base price is something to do with European pricing that, to be honest, I don't quite understand. Discounts we're not going to really deal with other than to let them know that there's an old price and a new price here. If it's tax exempt, put it in there. If it's not tax exempt, you need to choose a category. We'll choose electronics and software. And then if it's telecommunications, broadcasting, and electronic services, you check this. So that's the left column. And yes, Jana's just confirming we can't accept donations into any non-appropriated account. So don't use that button for donations. So now we're in the upper right-hand corner of the products page. There's actually several tabs here, so we have a lot more to cover than just this page. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this because this is cool and we'll be working with it today. This is how to track inventory, but it's really useful if you're running a workshop or if, say, you have a membership with a limited top end of members. What we're going to do is put track inventory. Our stock quantity is going to be 25, meaning we have a computer lab with 25 seats in it. And as we sell those seats, the number will go down in the e-store so that both you and that end users, those end users out there, can track how many seats are left. So it's a nice, cool little function here. We're not working with warehouses. We do want to display availability. We want to display stock quantity. Dang, excuse me. And that is essentially the whole point of this, so that we can display how many seats are left. Minimum stock quantity is the stock quantity at which various actions happen that we'll see in a second. That should be 0. Once we reach low stock activity, we can do nothing. We can disable the buy button, or we can unpublish. I think we'll just disable the buy button at that point. Notify for quantity below 1. Bear with me here. Below 1 is 0, so that works well for us. We're not going to be working with back orders. That you can have back orders, and you can have people subscribe so that they know when a product is back in stock. don't think we're going to be working with minimum or maximum cart quantities, allowed quantities, and we're not going to worry about not returnable. If you have shipping enabled, you can give weight, length, width, and height. You can offer them free shipping, or you can have different items being shipped separately. You can tell them what their shipping charge is going to be, and you can tell them here how long that shipping will take. I'm going to unenable shipping. Mappings is important, so think of those big all caps importance that we saw before. Our category, if you remember, is about 2/3 of the way down, and it's counties, Wapello County workshops. So here's our category, which is both our main category and our subcategory. Manufacturers, there's none available to populate that with. Limited to stores, if you remember, is extension. And I think I've said this 4 times already, but in the actual production store, it will not be extension. It will be CSU extension e-store. You can allow different customers to buy things. I don't think anybody's going to restrict who can buy things. You can require that other products be bought. Say I wanted people to download a file of the PowerPoint that I'll be working with for the WordPress presentation. I could require them to download this product before we allow them to buy this one. After you save the product, you can add related products and cross-sells. So this might be something really useful for apparel, for cups and stuff like that, different types of shirts and stuff like that. So I'm going to click Save. I'm actually going to click Save and continue Edit, because while we finish the first page here, we do have 3 more tabs to work with. So I'll click Save and continue Edit. If anybody has any questions, now would be the time to ask. And we're saved. I am now going to go into the PowerPoint again. I'm going to start talking about attributes. So these are several pages of what I just went through. These are available on the PowerPoint, which will be available on my website probably tomorrow. And I guess we're not going to go into attributes yet. We're going to work with the other 2 tabs, the SEO tab and the Pictures tab. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. So let's go back to our main screen. We're here again, catalog products, and we're adding a product. So I'm moving over to SEO, Search Engine Optimization. Your meta keywords are going to be really similar to the words that you put in as tags for your product. Your meta description, I will put in that text I had earlier, which was our description of the product. Meta title, we'll put Wapello County Tech Workshop. We'll add WordPress. And then the search engine friendly title page. This is called a slug. You may have dealt with these in WordPress before. This is the part of your page name that comes after your main URL. You don't need to worry about this too much. It's based off the title of your product, and assumedly the title of your product is going to be a really descriptive set of words. So those words will simply become your page name. So they're going to be search friendly by default. But you can change this to anything you want within reason. So you can make this search friendly by putting in all applicable words. So in this case, I have got a search engine friendly page name, Wapello WordPress Tech Workshop. Probably want to put county in there somewhere, but I think we're good to go. Pictures are next. Excuse me. You can put anywhere up to 5 pictures. Always give your pictures alt text. Always put the title of the product that you're showing a picture of there. And then your display order, they're going to go by default in the order you put them in. If you want to change those as you put in each picture, you change the display order. 0 means first, 1 means second, and so on. So pictures are fairly easy. Product attributes are where we're going to be spending the rest of our, we're not doing real great on time here. The rest of our session today. I think we'll have this done by 3 o'clock. So let's go back to our PowerPoint and talk about attributes. So there's 2 places to do this. Attributes, product attributes is where we're going to start. Product attributes are quantifiable or descriptive aspects of a product. So you might have attributes like the color of a shirt, the size of a shirt, stuff like that. It can also be used, and this is how we're going to be using it today, to get information from the buyer. So an attribute can also be first and last name, email address. In the odd little example we'll do at the end, if they're bringing a computer or not. And what we're actually going to do today is ask them if they're bringing a computer or not. If they're not bringing one, we're going to charge them an extra $5, and the price will automatically change here in the e-store. So it's a cute little attribute trick we'll learn today. So those are existing attributes you get at with attributes and product attributes. The new product attributes, like the bringing computer attribute, you add that at catalog attributes, product attributes. So, yeah, let's jump into Nelnet one last time. Here we are. So now we're going to go to products and then the product, oops, let me go back. We're still with our product, the product attributes tab. So again, we're just in catalog, products, we have our specific product up, and then 4 tabs over, product attributes. Now this, what we're going to do now, only works with existing attributes, so that somewhere, at some time on the e-store has already created this attribute, which in the vast majority of cases is going to be workable for your uses. So we're going to add an attribute. First thing we want to know is their name. So I'm clicking Add Attribute. Attributes are right here is a pull down. There's a lot of these, so you're going to want to go through these to see exactly what we have and what we don't have. But fairly early on, we do have attendee names. So I'll put that there. Text prompt is kind of important because the text prompt is going to appear either above or to the side of the text box or the dialog box that you're giving that end user. Sometimes, actually I think every time, if you don't put in a text prompt at all, it's going to default to a description or it's going to default to the attribute name. So don't leave text prompt blank, rather use that as your main way of communicating with that end user. And we will put, what is your first and last name? We're going to require this. We don't want it to be a drop-down list, but we want it to be a text box. Well, display order will be 0, though if we didn't put anything in there, it would also be 0. We don't need a minimum or maximum length or a default value. So all we're going to do here is click Save, and we've got our first attribute. So that end user will have a place to put their name. Let's add a new one. Now for email, this one's also pretty easy. Here's our first one, attendee names. Add a new attribute. This one's going to be email, and you're pretty sure it's going to be here because that's a commonly asked question. Here's email. My text prompt will be, what is the best email address to be contacted? We'll make it required as well. I hope I'm not going too quickly. Feel free to ask if I'm going through this a little too quickly. Text box, we don't need to worry about display orders, and we'll click Save. Now for the majority of cases, all we've just done, we haven't added a GL code yet, but this is pretty much all you're going to need to do, what I've just shown you to set up a product. What I'm going to do now is set up a new product attribute so you can be a little more granular, I guess, with these product attributes. And I realize we're coming into 3 o'clock here. So to get to the place to add a new attribute to, meaning one that is not currently in the system, you're going to go to Catalog, you're going to get Attributes, and you're going to go to Product Attributes. And what I'm going to ask them here is if they're going to be bringing their own computer. And I'm going to charge them for the use of computer if they're not bringing one. So it's Product Attributes, and again, it's the Product Attributes that's in Catalog, Attributes, Product Attributes. I'm going to click Add New. Name is Bring Computer. We don't need, or do we want, a description here? I'm going to go to predefined value. It's just going to ask me to save. So I go here. I need to save my product before continuing. And then I have to go find it again. Bring computer. I'll edit that attribute once again. Predefined values. They're going to be yes or no. So we're going to add a value, and it's going to be yes. Yes, bringing own computer. We don't have a price adjustment, cost, weight, any of that. So we're going to click Save. So far, so good. Our no is not going to be that much more complicated either, but we're going to add a little wrinkle. So we're going to click Add a new value. This one will be no, we'll need one provided. Our price adjustment is going to be $5. Oops. Bear with me here. No, provided, price adjustment of $5. You can also do this as a percentage if you like. You don't need to worry about any of this. Our total cost, however, will now be 30. So we made two changes here. This no value for the attribute, are you bringing your own computer? If it's no, the price adjustment is going to be $5. This can go negative, by the way. You can make it a discount by making it a -5. And then the total cost will be the 25 plus the 5. So we click Save. We're not done yet, but we're close. We've defined the attribute. What we need to do now is go back into the product and add that attribute in. So I'm not sure if I saved this, so let's assume I did not and save it really quickly. Here's our list of attributes. We're going to go back to Catalog. We're going to go back to Products. And I've got to find my product first. That's why these search suites are at the beginning of every one of these sections, so it's easy to find where you are. I'm going to put in WordPress. And here's our WordPress workshop right here. I'm going to edit it. And we're going to add an attribute that when we started before wasn't even there. So again, remember on this product details, we are 4 tabs over, product attributes. Here's the names and here's the email we had before. We're going to add a new attribute. Here is the pull down, which now contains bring computer. Our text prompt will be, will you be bringing your own computer? We can provide one at a cost of $5. We're going to make this required so that way we know how many computers we're going to need to bringing on that day. This will, we could make it a drop-down list, but let's go for a radio button list. Display order, because it's the third one we've put in, it will show up third, and we'll click Save. Now, there are a couple of ways to test this. The preview is probably the best way, but be aware any time that you're working in the e-store, you're almost always going to have this public store option up here, so you can jump over there and see what the end user is going to see. The only downside to that is that Nelnet's a little bit slow, and it sometimes takes a while for these to populate. So in most cases and with most software, I would suggest going directly to the public store because then you're in the store and you know it's there. But because Nelnet's a little bit slow, I would check your work with the preview button, which we'll do now. So here's our product. We don't have an image for this. Remember, the image that we set, the logo, is just going to appear on our main category page. Availability is 25 in stock. This will go down as people buy. First and last name, required question. Best email address, required question. Yes, we'll be bringing our own computer. No, we'll need one provided. If I click yes, nothing happens to that price. If I click no, it goes to 30. And it's going to need info here for me to buy it. And again, I'm in the test store, so I can buy stuff. It won't be the end of the world. I think that a lot of that's spelled wrong, but it's okay. Add to our cart. And that's it. We now have that in our cart. Anybody have any questions? Okay, let me throw some resources at you. We're going to be doing one of these next week again, or next month rather, the third Wednesday of next month. So I'll be talking about GL codes in a lot more detail then. I'll be talking about reports in a great deal of detail then. And any questions you throw at me or throw at Jana in the next month, I will also cover in our next session. For now, resources, I have got, I think, 7 training videos. Here is the URL for them. I do have a very non-strong, very weak password to get in those eStore for you. So this requires a password, but I'm covering most of the things that I've covered in today's session here. If you want to go back and look, and then my email is right here, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. If nobody has any more questions, I would like to throw a evaluation poll at you. I'd appreciate it if you could answer it. Just how useful was this to you on a scale of 1 to 5? Was the pace too fast, too slow, or just about right? And was the skill level too easy, too hard, or just about right? And if no one has any more questions, thank you so much for attending, and I will see you next month when we start talking about GL codes and reports. And again, feel free to email me, and I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, Jana, by saying feel free to email Jana as well if you have questions about this process, and we'll do our best to help you. Is there anything anybody wants me to go over again?
Hey, Jeff, this is Katie Dunker, and I've been using Nelnet for several months, originally implemented some of the work in Douglas County, but now I'm in a new role, a statewide role, and I was curious if this may be 2.0, I don't know, if there's a way to set up notifications so that multiple people can receive notifications when there's a purchase on the store. And if we could have, like in Qualtrics, there's an email trigger option.
Mm-hmm.
So based on a response, for instance, I'm in this county, that county could have an email trigger associated with it so that when somebody paid for something, somebody in the county would be notified. I don't know if Nelnet has that level of sophistication.
I'll look into it. I've heard nothing about that, to be honest, and I'm even a little unclear. When we were looking before at inventories about notify,
Yeah.
It's very vague on who actually gets notified when you hit that level of, when you hit the 0 level of number of products. I'll definitely look into it. My sense is that no, there's not an automatic trigger to have folks notified, and that most people tend to be working off the end of day reports for every day.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 24-hour lag between the end of day and the end of day that's reported. Janet, do you have anything to add to that? If she doesn't, I'll certainly look into this and have an answer for you the next time we have a session.
Great.
I vaguely remember that there was some limited ability to notify, as you mentioned, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're right. I think we'd have to follow back up because there also are continuous upgrades planned for Nelnet. So it could be that if what you're looking for right now, Katie, doesn't exist, it could be that there will be something coming down the pike that would allow us to do such a thing.
Great. Yeah, that would be helpful if we wanted to use this statewide for collecting annual dues for our volunteers.
Mhm.
I'd love to do it, but I don't think I can do it unless there's some kind of notification system that could be a little more sophisticated. I also do think Tyler Rayburn could be helpful in terms of if a notification went to a central email box, we could set up rules
Mhm.
so that it was filtered into a different area. So there may be some other workarounds outside of Nelnet.
Mhm.
And I'm just starting to think about this. This is down the road, but I just wanted to see if there's something you knew about.
Okay.
I know that in Douglas County, we had a lot of frustration with the reporting system, and Nelnet had said that they were working, that was kind of in the queue. And so I don't know if that's been updated or not, but I would just mention that when you're actually using Nelnet and you need to check to see who's paid and for what products, they were in different reports. So oftentimes we would download a report, and you have to download it for the entire CSU store because the way it's set up. So then I have all the transactions for CSU extension. I would filter out, so I was only seeing my county, but then it wouldn't tell me, for instance, the name of the person and the product and the amount they paid, which sometimes the amount they pay is different even within the product. So, so then we had to download a different report, and I could get, okay, here's the product, here's the amount they paid, or the name of the person and the amount they paid, but it didn't have the product information. Ultimately, there was just one component that was missing, and we did ask Nelnet a couple times, hey, could you improve this reporting? Because it left a lot of room for human error.
My sense of the reports now is that they're fairly filterable, that there are a lot of fields in there you can filter by when you're running a report in Nelnet. There might be issues with if they're correctly done, but I know going through reports myself, I was able to find a number of filters so I could narrow down into, not exactly drill into the data, but for a more filtered set of data. But I will look into that and deal with that next time. Katie, if you could send me an email about the notification thing, just to remind me, I can
yes,
on that and get back to you.
Sorry, hey, this is Jana. I just wanted to follow up. You're right. There is that one piece of information. There's a fairly straightforward way. It's just to filter your data, download, and cross-reference it. It's not perfect, but it's not actually too terribly difficult. And so we could look at doing like a how to do that. Maybe Jeff, as we do the reporting.
Yeah, maybe when we talk about reporting next time, we can talk about, even if it's after the fact, after you download it, how to filter it in Excel might be the workaround. But we can certainly talk about how to filter the end-of-day reports to get exactly what you want.
Yeah, I think that'd be very practical for folks who are using it in the county. And a lot of this isn't, you don't know what you don't know until you start using it. And so, it's one of those situations. But thank you. This is helpful. A good refresher.
Okay, I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions or anything? Okay, I'll see you guys in about a month. Thank you for coming, and thank you for participating, particularly there at the end. That was helpful for all of us. And you guys soon. Enjoy your day.